Good morning, everyone. This is Lori Stocker. I see there's a lot of questions already in the question and answer. Let's go through this example of the application first, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions. I know Carl's going to answer one. I am going to share my screen. And somebody let me know if you can see that.
Yep, we can see that. This is Leslie. I'm the meeting host. Hey, just while I'm on, I want to take a minute. We've got 242 people that have joined us. Thank you so much. We put everybody on mute just so we can manage the background noise. But if you have a question, you can put them in the Q&A, and Lori and the team at Minnesota Association of Townships will try to get to as many as possible. So Lori, we see your website right now.
Okay, great. I'm going to go through a couple of different things on how to get to the Treasury website. I know we've had some issues, so I used login.gov when I registered to get on the website. So then I go to sign in with login.gov and my password. And it's going to send me a code to my cell phone to verify that it's really you. So I'm going to put that in. Oops. So then a lot of people are running into an issue at this point. They don't know where to go from here. So I am going to, how do I get rid of this? I need to open up a new website. There we go. And if you're using login.gov, you're going to want to open up, you're going to want to type in this portal at Treasury, portal.treasury.gov, compliance, /S/. Now this is for login.gov. Carl's going to be putting something in the chat. If you're using ID Me, there is a different web address that you need to type in there. So if you're going right through login.gov and you get that message, type in this and it'll take you to the Treasury. It's going to say you've already logged in. So we're going to say continue. And it's going to take you to the Treasury, right to the compliance reports. Now, at this point, I'm going to show you if you need to assign roles to people in your township. You're going to go out. You're going to go up here to these bars. Click on that. And you're going to go to account. There's my township. And down here, I can get to it. First, you're going to want to do the certification. I found that if you go right to the designation form, nothing shows up for roles. So you want to go to the certification. And then you want to, once you certify that, certifying is complete, then go to designation form. And this is where you're going to find the roles that you can designate. Now I'm in here. If I need to edit mine, if I'm already in here, you just hit the edit button. If I need to edit my treasurer, we hit the edit button. Now, if there's nobody down here, then you're going to want to fill all this out. Okay. And then pick whatever roles you're going to move over. Pick it, move the arrow, pick it, move the arrow until you have your roles over here. And then you're going to want to complete. So that's how you're going to designate roles. Now, if you don't see any program roles in here, that's when you need to contact the Treasury, because we can't fix that for you. That's the Treasury. They need to fix that for you. We do not have access to individual townships information. And the information on how to get a hold of the Treasury, we're going to have in the chat and also on our website. We're also going to have frequently asked questions on our website, hopefully by the end of the day, so that you can go there first, see if you've got information, if your question is on there. And if you still have questions, then go ahead, give us a call. So I've got the roles assigned. I'm going to go back up here to the bars and I'm going to go to home. Back to my compliance reports. Hit compliance reports. And you're going to see they want your project and expenditure, and they also want those supporting documents. That's the NEU agreements and proof of what you put on that application to apply for the funds. So it's either going to be your proposed 2022 budget, or if you don't use a budget, if we did your application, we were asking you for your 2019 expenditures, your actual expenditures. So that would be just your year-end report that your treasurer had for the annual meeting. That shows what you actually spent in 2019. And that's what they're looking for that supporting documents. And then those 2 agreements. If you don't have those 2 agreements, zip me an email and I can forward them to you. So we're going to go right into the project and expenditure report. Okay, right away we've got the bulk uploads and templates. This does not pertain to townships because we don't have a bunch of projects. We didn't get more than $10 million. But also on this side, you're going to see this allocated amount. When you see this allocated amount, write it down because you're going to need it further in the reporting. The allocated amount, now the question is going to be, we didn't receive all that. No, you've only received half of it. But for this report, they want you to report the whole allocated amount. And this is the figure they're looking for. So write that amount down. You're going to need it later in the report. Then we're going to go back over here. We've got all of these different pages that we need to go through. We're going to go to Recipient Profile. Here's all the information for your township. Now, when Treasury uploaded from MMB, a lot of this information got mixed up with other towns and cities. So if something is not right in this recipient information area, write the information in here on what it's supposed to be. Okay, we can't change that. Again, we can't change anything on the Treasury website if it's not pertaining to your township. We don't have access. So is a recipient registered in sam.gov? Here's another question we've been getting. I can't get my UEI number. You do not need to be registered with SAM to do this report. If you've gotten an error, if you're waiting for something back from SAM's, you can still continue on and do this report. You just say no. The next question, did the recipient receive 80% or more? That's going to be no. Unless you receive $25 million or more, you're going to say no. If you do have registered with sam.gov, you're very lucky. I'm still waiting. You're going to say yes, and then you don't have those questions. Okay, so we're going to save this. Either way, if you said yes or no, you're going to save it. All right. Now on these pages, we can continue all the way down and hit next, or you can go back up here and hit project overview. This is your project overview. Now for townships, we have, I am going to get into this and take it off so I can. We have the $10 million or less, so we can put it into revenue replacement. A question we get, we haven't spent any money. We don't know how we're going to spend our money. Do we still have to report? Yes, you do. And in this case, if you have not spent any money, you do not know what you're going to be spending it on, you're going to say my jurisdiction does not have projects to report. And then you're going to put in a description. In this case, I put in my jurisdiction does not know how we will spend the funds at this time. Okay, so if you haven't spent anything, you don't know how you're going to spend it, this is how you're going to do it. We're going to hit save. And then we're going to go up here. Subrecipients, beneficiaries, it does not pertain to townships. So you can click on that, click on this. This does not pertain to townships with the $10 million with the new final rule. Expenditures, this does not pertain to us if we're using that final rule of the $10 million or less. Yes, I will slow down. Sorry. I'll go back through it again. So here is the recipient specific. This is your revenue replacement key inputs. All right. This is where you're going to answer 3 questions. Are you using the standard allowance? Yes, we're using the standard allowance. You have to answer this question. Yes or no? We are using the standard allowance. This is where you're going to put that figure in. Remember, I said write down that amount of the allocated amount. This is where you're going to put that figure in. Revenue loss due to COVID-19. I'm hoping and praying that every single township puts no in this deposit of pension funds. This does not pertain to regular pay. What this question is saying is, did you put more into a pension fund with ARPA funds? And that is a not allowable expense. You cannot put more money in a pension fund with the ARPA funds. Okay. Now we're going to go down here and we're going to have to put an explanation in here of how we're spending it. And again, I put my entity does not know how we will spend the funds at this time. Okay. So this is, if you have not spent anything, you don't know what you're going to spend it on. So we're going to hit save. And then we're going to go down here or back up here to our certification. Okay. See, I have 1 project, no expenditures. All right. So I'm going to go down here. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I agree. And I am going to certify and submit. Okay. Are you sure you want to submit? After all I've been through in the last 2 months, yes, I'm sure I want to submit. I'm not going to at this time because I'm in a sample project. If you hit submit and it says you are not an authorized user, you need to contact the Treasury. Now, the Treasury knows that we're having issues with their website. So don't be afraid to contact them and don't be surprised if it takes a while. They are getting calls from all over the United States, not just us. MMB does not have anything to do with the Treasury reporting. Yes, that's where we get our funds, but they cannot help us with anything that, any problems that we run into on the Treasury website. So please contact the Treasury. And again, it's going to take a while. Okay. So I went fast through this. This was the project when you don't know how you're going to spend it. We don't have a project to report, but you still need to go through this. Now I'm going to go through revenue replacement and how to set that up as a project. And that's also, if you have already spent money, that's also where you're going to see those. So we're going to go back into the recipient profile. This has got all your information. Again, if there's any discrepancies, go into this and put in what it's supposed to be as far as address, your legal entity. When I first went into this, they had Zimmerman for my city. My DUNS didn't match, nothing matched. They had strange people down in the point of contact list. And that's because, again, when the Treasury uploaded stuff from MMB, they got things mixed together with other entities. Again, you're going to answer this question. Am I registered with SAMS? Yes or no? You can still continue with the reporting if you have not registered with SAMS. Okay, answer these 2 questions. And we're going to save it. And then we're going to go down here and hit next. This is our project overview. Now, when I first did that webinar on Township Tuesday, I went through and skipped all these because I knew it didn't pertain and it wouldn't let me submit the report. That's why we just need to go down, click on them and move on through. Okay, so here's the project overview. Now this time I'm going to say, yes, my jurisdiction has projects to report. We're going to save that. And now we're going to go down here and we're going to add a new project. This is going to be, if you're going under revenue replacement, all of your funds. This is where you're going to pick your project expenditure category group. Now here, if you have done premium pay, you will have to set up a separate project for that. If you paid your employees more, because it is considered a gift. So we need to make sure that we set up a project just for premium pay. And in that case, when we get down further, you're going to see where you're going to have to split out the income and the expenses. In this example, we're just going to do revenue replacement because we're all under revenue replacement. And we're going to do provisions of government services, 6.1. Okay. Now we're going to go down here. The project name and the project ID are totally up to your entity. Now I know my township, not yet, but eventually we're going to spend it on our roads because of the new rule. So I'm going to name it roads, and I'm going to go roads 2022. Doesn't matter what you put in there. You can put whatever you want in there. It's whatever will help your entity. It's the treasury doesn't care how you name this or what kind of an ID you give it. Okay. Adopted budget is optional. You do not have to put anything in adopted budget. There's no red star by it. So it's optional. If there's no red star, you do not have to put anything in there. Then we're going to go down here to total cumulative obligations. What they're talking about when they say obligations is income, allocations. So this is where you're going to put in that amount you wrote down earlier. Your total cumulative obligations is your total allocations you're going to receive. 9287. Now expenditures. This is the cumulative expenditures is going to come up more next year when we report. We have to report yearly. Total cumulative expenditures is what you have spent so far to date. Okay, so if you spent some now in this one, this is where you're going to put those expenditures. So let's say I spent $5,000. It's if you have spent anything. If you have not spent anything, you're going to put 0 in there. Okay, now next year, if we spend more now in this next year, we're going to add this year's expenses to this $5,000. All right, this is cumulative what you have spent in ARPA funds. Eventually, when you've spent it all, it's going to match the cumulative obligations. Okay, current period obligations. This is going to be your total allocation. This is the first period that we're reporting, and this is we're going to put that total cumulative obligations in there again. Expenditures. This is going to be current expenditures. So if you've spent some already, it's going to be the same as your cumulative expenditures. Now, next year, if we've spent 5,000 already, now let's say this year we're going to report and we spent another 1,000. Okay, this is what we're going to report next year, 2023, by April 30th. This is how it's going to look. But now we have to change this cumulative to 6,000 next year, not this year. If you haven't spent anything, this is going to be 0. This is going to be 0. Okay. Program income earned, program income expended. These are optional fields. They're going to want a project description. Revenue replacement. That's all I'm going to put in there. Okay. For general government expenses. I'm going to add this project. Okay. Now, if we go down here, you can see I have my project in here. oops, I made a mistake. I put in the wrong amount. I need to change it. How do I do that? You go into project status and you click this check mark. You can go back into that project and edit it. I didn't put the right cumulative obligations. I didn't spend anything, but I put something in there. I need to change that. This is where you're going to change those things. And you're going to go ahead and save your project. So you want to make sure that there's green check marks in there. The only one that you might have an issue is the project status, because we don't have subaward or expenditures. So those should both be green. Okay. We're going to hit next. We're back up to the subrecipients. This does not affect us. So we're just going to go right back down to subawards. We're going to go to expenditures. This does not affect us. Recipient specific. This is where we're going to go to that revenue replacement key inputs. This is where we're going to say, yes, we are using the standard allowance. This is where we're going to put our total allocation. This is where we're going to say, no, we have not put extra money into a pension fund. And you're going to have to put it in a description, whatever you want, be as specific as you possibly can. Again, if you don't know how you're going to spend the funds, just put you don't know how you're going to spend the funds yet. Okay, we're going to save that. And then we're going to go back up here and we're going to go to certification. See, we have one complete. We don't have any incomplete projects. So we're going to go down here again and we're going to certify and submit. And if you have errors when you hit submit, you'll need to get in touch with the Treasury. Because sometimes people are getting, you're not an authorized user. And you really are, even if the roles you designate that say you are an authorized user, if you get that error, you'll need to contact the Treasury. And that's it. That really is it. The biggest problems folks are having is getting to this site, getting their roles in there. They're running into problems, they're running into errors, and Treasury knows that. There is no penalty for not getting this done by the end of the week. But that doesn't mean that you don't send it. We still need to try. Treasury, if you have been contacting Treasury, emails, phone calls, document that. They know that they have issues. So document that so you have that in case anything comes up. Okay. We do have some questions. I am going to get out of the screen sharing, stop sharing. And I'll still be able to go back to this if there is more that people need to see. So we have questions. Carl, have you been kind of watching that, Steve? Anybody? The questions?
Yep, I've been slowly watching them, but a lot are ones that we've kind of addressed a little bit, but I think they're probably still good to go over again.
Okay. Yeah. Larry, I gave myself the wrong role. I need to do the reporting. How do I change my role in the authorized representative? We went through that this first thing. You go up onto the Treasury and you hit those 3 bars that are on the top right. You go to account, pull up your township, and then go ahead and change those to what you need. Now, if you don't see any roles available, again, you're going to have to talk to the Treasury. Okay.
Hey, Lori, this is Leslie. I know you're going through the questions and answers. If you
Yep.
could, we have so many,
I know.
just announce to the group so they can find it, and everybody can see the questions. And then when you answer it, you just click on the question live. So just read it out so they know what you're talking about. And then, yeah, you can click on the answer live, and then that'll kind of dismiss the question too. So you can have a clean, and then they could be in the answer section. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Sounds good. No, that's okay. Sure. Okay, so we did the roles. Yeah, the treasury, Teresa, you have been in touch with the Treasury Department. The question is in the reporting. I do not have any roles to choose from. I have 2 emails to the Treasury Department, but no luck getting a response back. Any suggestions? Hang tight. Don't send them the same. Don't send them any more emails. Just wait for them to get back to you. We have already spent. I want to go back up here. We've already spent some money. Where do we put the amount? That would be in the expenses, cumulative expenses, and your your report expenses. We had gone through that. Okay, why? Kathy Stevens, why was the amount we were allocated $4,004.52 less than our original quoted allocation? Carl, are you going to answer that one?
Yep, I'm typing an answer here for that, but I can also say what I'm going to type. So
Okay.
There could be 2 reasons here. First, the original estimation might have just been wrong. When we're in the ballpark of $4,000, that can way dependent on what the census states, which I think is the number that the treasurer was based off. That or some 2019 population estimates. I don't remember which it is. So there could just be some issues in estimations of the total population. The other could be that the reason we're giving our 2019 total expenditures or proposed 2020 budget is because the amount you're receiving only be 75% of that budget or spending total. And so it may be that your budget or spending or the amount you received was 75%, over 75% of your budget or spending from 2019. And I'll clarify that in the message here, but those might be the 2 issues there.
Thank you, Carl. Tom, we have been trying to get a UEI number for several weeks and have not yet been given one. What do we do if we can't get our number assigned in time? Tom, you don't need a UEI number to do the reporting. Just when it says, am I registered with sams.gov, you just put no and answer those questions. Dead Lake Township, can't see the website. I hope you were able to later. Otherwise, after this is over, give me a call. Previous Minnesota State Township tutorial examples uses 10 million allotted and 5 million is spent. Our township received 5,000 and expect 5,000 more. Do we use 10K as the expected amount and 5K as the spent amount? No, you're going to use, if you haven't, the sample that they had there with the 10 million and the 5 million was just to show you what to put in those amounts. You need to put what your own township numbers are. So if you're expected, remember that allocated amount that I showed you, that's what they're going to want in that cumulative allocation. Use the 10,000 as the expected amount. If you haven't spent anything, you're not going to put anything in expenditures. The Treasury does not respond. I understand. And if you sent them an email, they will get to you. And again, if they don't, they understand that they're having problems. I am really sorry that I went too fast. It is being recorded and it will be on our website. My problem is I have been through that reporting thing so many times and I forget that people are seeing it for the first time. This is the message I get from the Treasury. No matching contact record was found. Account administration to create a contact record. Yes, that's what you need to do. That's when you need to get a hold of Treasury and let them know that you need to get in there as the account administrator. Can you explain how to report when you spent some on admin expenses prior to the final rule, and then report the rest as lost revenue. Whatever you report, whatever you spent on admin expenses, Kimberly, that is part of those, when I went to the replacement cost or the revenue replacement, the number 6, your admin, there's an admin one, and that's where you're gonna wanna put take off what you spent for admin and put that in as the allocated or the obligation, put that same amount in the expenses. And then you would do another report for revenue replacement. So you'd have to split out that allocation in those 2 reports. If you still have questions, zip me an email and I'll walk you through it. Does the clerk or the treasurer do this report? Jane, it depends on who wants to do the report. I've done the report. When I applied, I was the authorized representative. My treasurer is a contact person. So it's just depends on who wants to go through it. Do we include the extra money we got for townships that didn't apply for funding? Yes. Again, that's going to be included in your allocated amount on that first screen. It's not possible to edit it. I'm going to need more information.
Hey, Lori,
Yes.
related to the not possible to edit, this is one that's come up a couple of times for me too. So when you submitted the report, are you able to go in and edit after you submitted the report?
Yes, you are. I'm going to share my screen again. Where am I? Share screen. So if you notice on this, get out of here, certification, or even when you get up here to recipient profile, if you notice, it says draft up here. If you have already submitted your report, it's going to say submitted. But if you go down here, there's going to be something that says unsubmit. And you can unsubmit it. It'll go back to draft status. You can go make your changes and resubmit it. Okay. Okay, Kelsey, once you submit that we do not know how we are going to spend the funds at this time, can we resubmit later with a project? You only have to do, Kelsey, you only have to do this report once a year. So when we go back next April and report, then you would put in that project and submit what you've expended. Originally, I answer how used as lost revenue, however, it will be applied towards something and moving forward. Will lost revenues be acceptable from this point until actually used at a later time? Also, when do we need to next submit dollars? Thank you. Again, it's going to be a yearly process. And as far as lost revenue, yes, you can use it. I think, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong. The only things you cannot use the ARPA funds are extra money in pensions, paying off a debt, or a rainy day fund. You cannot put it in a savings account.
Correct.
How often do we have to go out here and update our projects? Yearly. This is a yearly reporting process. After we're done here, after we submit, and we're all happy that our 2 months are over, we don't have to go through this again until next April. Can you have more than one person that can do the report? Karen, it's based on login information. So if I set up my login.gov with my login information, they need to have a phone where they can text you your verification. So if you have more than one person, that's going to be hard to do. So you'd have to have those two people or one person, unless you're going to share phones or share login information. Does this $30 we spent for the application apply to expenditures? Yes. Anything you spent, any training you did for ARPA, anything like that that you were paid for, you can take your ARPA funds and pay for that. Will you have Sam? We have a Sam's demo. Where did I go here? Will you have a demo to get Sam ID? I don't think so. That's through Sam's. That's not something that I want to dabble in. Like I said, I'm still waiting for Sam to get it back to me. Confirm period equals calendar year. They are going from, now we report on the 30th, so they're going to go from May 1st to March 30th, I think. It's not a calendar, it's not January to December. It's through March. So from April 1st to March 30th is when we're going to report yearly. We purchased a few different items can be placed in and under one project. Laptop, do we need to place those on? No, you don't have to have separate projects, Peggy, for everything that you've purchased, because we can use that revenue replacement project. So you can just add all of those things in one expense and just do one report. Once submitted, if there's a mistake or problem, will the treasury contact us, or do we just need to keep checking the portal? Once you have, Pat, that you successfully submitted, don't go back in here. Just let them get a hold of you if they have problems. You don't need to keep checking the portal. Once it says you successfully submitted, you've done your job. The total cumulative obligation figure comes from where? That's going to be when you go into the, I'm going to share my screen again, because this is probably where I was going way too fast. So when you first get into the portal and you go to Recipient Profile, when you're checking all of your information here to make sure that it's correct, you're going to see your total allocation over here on the right-hand side, total allocated amount. That is going to be your total cumulative, or whatever word they use, obligations. Obligations means allocations in our terms. Okay. We have decided to give money to broadband, but haven't spent the check. Do we do the first process or the second? If you haven't spent anything on it yet, don't report it as a project if you don't know you're actually going to do it. So you can say, if that's the only thing that you have, you can say we don't have any projects to report. And then next year, then you can go ahead and do that project for the broadband. So if you haven't spent anything and you don't even know if you're going to be able to spend anything on the broadband, just put, we don't have anything to report. Can you clarify when you utilize the 2019 expenditures or when you use the 2022 budget? Lynn, if we did your application, we were asking for actual 2019 expenses. If you use budgets, they're looking for your 2020 proposed budget. This is pre-pandemic. These amounts are pre-pandemic, and that's what they're looking for. What about using some for broadband? You can do that, Joe, you can use it for broadband. And I think there is a category for that for the projects. Yeah, I'm sure there is. So it would be a project titled broadband, not revenue replacement, because I think it has a project all its own. If you've had several projects, do you enter each separately or in a lump sum? In a lump sum. Under revenue replacement project, you don't have to put a different project for everything you bought. From what section do you input your specific project? That's going to be in the project screen. Here. So it's going to be over here in project overview. Okay. We're going to go down here and this is where you're going to put your projects if you have any. Otherwise, you're going to say, no, I don't have any projects to report. If we have premium pay, can we categorize it under revenue replacement or does it have to be under premium pay? It has to be a separate, premium pay has to be a separate project. So you'd have to list that as a separate project. And again, split out your allocation and put your expenses in there. Sidebar links do not work on my download, so I cannot access any of the forms. It should come up to your recipient profile, Del. And if you scroll through those pages, at the very bottom of the page, it should say next. And you'll hit the next button to get to the next sidebar, or the next page. Was the total cumulative obligation figure only the amount that we actually received? I used only that number when entering. Yeah, it's supposed to be what you totally what you received totally. Janice, if it let you certify it and send it with just what you with that amount of what you actually received. I would be surprised. You'd probably get an error saying that the amount is not what they have with their file. So it's going to be the total allocation. Our township is going to give monies to the county to support a broadband project in our township. Can I report this as part of revenue replacement with the rest of the township projects? Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, but broadband has to be its own separate project, correct?
Probably. Generally speaking, when we're spending ARPA funds, anything that you could normally spend on can fit under lost revenue replacement. That's for what they use in the final rule is for you can spend lost revenue replacement monies or in that category if it's for a government service. And a government service is going to be anything you can normally pay for. A lot of these broadband projects are a bit beyond that scope. So you'll want to use it in the proper category if it's a bit beyond your normal scope. Broadband is going to usually fall beyond that normal category. So you'll have to go into the broadband expenditure category.
Thank you. If we attempted our reporting before this wonderful webinar, thank you, Kathy. Can we go back in and check to make sure we did all the proper selections, or is what's submitted permanent? Again, you can go back in and you can go back in and unsubmit it and change it if you want to. If you were able to submit it, I would wait for Treasury to get a hold of you. I wouldn't go back through and go through this all again if you're all done with it. Are we to attach invoices in the software for monies for a particular project? No, you do not have to attach invoices. Where do I find the lost revenue due to COVID? Lost revenue due to COVID. That is in your, going to be in your, when you do the project or the recipient at the very end, right before you certify. That's one of the questions on that page. How does a clerk?
I also want to make one note of
Yep.
the lost revenue note or question, Lori. When we're finding our lost revenue, you don't have to show how that's due to COVID in your particular township. That has come from the Treasury and the American Rescue Plan itself, how lost revenue is defined. And for any of you townships as recipients, because you have received less than $10 million from your ARPA allotment, you can elect to use that standard allowance, which is the amount that the Treasury allows it is the amount that the Treasury has determined that all local governments have lost due to COVID. So any amount you have up to $10 million, I believe the largest township received in the ballpark of 1.5 million. So all towns in Minnesota can elect to use that standard allotment and have all of their ARPA funds as lost revenue due to COVID.
Thank you, Carl. How does a clerk who clerks for more than one township report under one login.gov account? They can assign the different townships. That's how I got my sample application reporting portal. You need to get a hold of Treasury and let them know that you are the clerk for several townships and that you need to have access to all of them. I find it odd that we aren't sent some kind of confirmation page that shows that we entered by email or like print this page. All right, I'm going to share my screen again and I'm going to show you how we can do that. Okay, I hope. So if I go, I know there's a place where we were able to print. I know there's a place that we can print it. I just can't find it right now, probably because here, compliance reports, yes. So on this first page, if you have completed your report, you can download it. It'll have a button here to view. See over here in the legend, you need to provide information. You can view it or you can download it. So if you've already certified, again, you're going to go back in here to the very first My Compliance reports, and you'll find your report and you can download it or print it. Okay. How do I get the budget that I need to upload? Is a report that I can do from CTAS. Stephanie, if you're using your actual 2019 expenses, you can do a Schedule 1, and that will show your actual expenses. As far as if you do use budgets, you'd have to do a report out of the budget module. And again, that they're looking for a budget for 2020 or expenses for 2019. Oh, I'm glad, Kimberly, I'm glad you got a response from Treasury. Maybe they're catching up. That's awesome. I have no program roles within the designation form. We need to contact Treasury, correct? Yes. If you don't have any roles to choose from, you need to contact Treasury. I watched the U.S. Treasury webinar Zoom meeting on Monday. For the amount reported for current period obligations, they used half the amount for the actual amount we received to date, not the total allocation. The Treasury website was, like I said, for the amount reported for current obligations, they used half the amount. And that was just a demonstration. It's not something that, yes, you have to use half the amount. This is what you're supposed to put in here. It was just a sample. What is sam.gov? Sam.gov is where you report your DUNS number, and then they give you a UEI number because they're not using DUNS numbers now. That's what they wanted on the application, but now they're not using them. Do we use both amounts we received or just the first allocation? You use your total allocation, both amounts. We spent money on hall repair and maintenance and also purchased new laptops. Is this two separate projects or is it all reported in one as revenue replacement? You don't have to report separate projects if you're using revenue replacement. So it's just going to be that one project. What category do we use to give grants to local private companies? That's a great question, Carl.
Sorry, I was just pulling up the expenditure categories. It looks like it's under expenditure category 2, and then small businesses will be 2.29 through 2.33. So you'll, in the project and expenditure user guide, I know it's 119 pages, but starting on starting on page 99, it lists all of the expenditure categories. And so it might be good just to have that on hand, just so that you can quick reference if you're going to be spending in other areas outside of the revenue replacement. Grants are not going to fall under revenue replacement. Towns can't normally do grants. So if you're going to give it to private companies, you're going to have to put it under one of the other expenditure categories.
Thank you, Carl. We have not received the second amount to be paid to townships in 2022. Is that what everyone else has received? They have not sent out that second payment yet. You should be receiving that in the next couple of months, we hope. Can I be put down for all 3 roles? Yes, you can assign all 3 roles to one person. I have a UEI number, but is not on the report, and that box for corrections is not there. I wouldn't worry about it if you have a UEI number, Cheryl. They are going to match that to your DUNS number at the Treasury. I was told by previous clerk that only a portion of paid last year and the balance will be used probably sometime spring or summer. Yes, you are going to be getting the second half sometime this summer. Do we have to send copies of expenditures? No. Recipient profiles, can this screen be edited for DUNS number if incorrect? No, you have to get a hold of Treasury for that if your DUNS number is not correct. Show log in procedures to the Treasury site once again. I will do that, Kevin. So I'm going to share my screen again. So I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to log out. And if you're using login.gov, you're going to go here, put in your password. It's going to send you a code. Oh, nope, I'm still in there. So it's gonna, it does this. So then this is when you're going to want to open up a new page. And we're going to have this on our website, all this information that we went through today. And it says you already are, so you continue. And there you are on the compliance reports. Do we set up expense codes and CTAS when we spend the funds? What we're finding out, I talked to the auditor's office, they don't care as far as the account number. That's why we're suggesting people use a separate fund number. Set up a separate fund for your ARPA funds. And then just use whatever account and object codes that you normally would use. Hey, is there any way to change how login.gov sends a code to us? They send it to my landline in the office, but sometimes it's hard to understand what they say. I would rather have the code sent to my cell phone as a text. I've made mistakes typing in what I think they said and what I heard. I would get a hold of login.gov and tell them you need to change that. There was another email I received yesterday with that same situation. Excuse me, you'll have to go to login.gov to their helpline to get that changed. When I went in to complete our report, it shows the UEI number for us. However, we have not applied for it. Is this correct, or do I need to still submit for one? No, if you have a UEI number in there, I'm guessing that you probably had FEMA or some other federal program. That's what the SAMS.gov is federal grants and federal funding. So you don't have to go back in and do it again. You have reported using ARPA funds in state auditor annual report. Can I change using those funds for one large expense later? Auditor annual report, can I change using those funds for one large expense later? Eileen, can you send me an email with a little more detail, please? When must the monies be spent? December 2024. My title and township name were not showing up on the designation form. I corrected that and then it took away my role and there's not role now available to add me back. Yes, that happened to me as well, Val. I went in there because I've been in there helping people and walking through. I went in there once and I wasn't even in there anymore. So you have to get a hold of Treasury and they will get that put back up there for you. Can you use revenue replacement category for this report, but later change some funds or use on other categories? Revenue replacement, if you have one of those categories like more pay for your employees or broadband or one of those categories that's not a normal government expense, then you would want to start another project to report those. Otherwise, everything can go under revenue replacements. By resolution, we allocated funds to technological improvements and the remainder to lost revenue replacement. What project expenditure category should the technological improvements go under? Probably admin, I'm not sure, Carl.
So if they are spent, if you spent those funds after January 7th, it can all go under that lost revenue expenditure category. If it was before that point, would probably fall somewhere under the public health expenditure category. So that's category 1, and then find which one most closely relates. So for example, if we look at public health expenses like communications, enforcement, and isolation, might fall under that. It might fall under one of those other categories here too.
The next question. Thank you, Laura and Carl. Wish we'd had this earlier. I wish I had more information earlier as well. I was waiting for information from Treasury on how to do this. Or public health, we added equipment. I think Carl just answered that one. Can we spend from revenue replacement to get internet to the town hall? I think this would fall under broadband. If it's not a normal expenditure for the township. Now, internet, just to get internet to the town hall, that might be a normal expenditure. Carl, what do you think?
Getting internet to the town hall probably falls under that revenue replacement because it is a normal expense. Sometimes towns need to provide internet to their hall, and that's allowed under Minnesota law.
All right. What happens if we don't get our report in on time because we are having issues? There's no consequences. Nobody's going to jail. They're not going to arrest anybody for not getting this done. But that doesn't mean not to do it. Like I said, if you've gotten a hold of Treasury through emails and phone calls, document that. They know they're having problems. And then just make sure, you know, keep trying to get this done. I sent in an error report and received several emails from General Services Administration, Federal. Your incident has been resolved. I wouldn't trust that. I don't know what that is.
So that email, when we look at emails coming in and determining whether they're scams or from the federal government, the two ways you'd want to look at it: one, are they asking for money? The federal government isn't going to be asking you for money unless it's for tax purposes. And two, does the email end in a .gov? That email ended in a .com. So because that did not end in a .gov, it would probably be a scam.
Okay. Chuck, just a point of reference, I had certified my report, but just went in and unsubmitted. But now will not let me rectify now as it does not recognize me as a representative. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. How do you change this? You're in your report here. You're going to go up to these 3 bars up here on the top left. Click on that. Go to account. Click on your township. And if the treasury, you're going to want to do the certification again. And then designation form. And if you don't see program roles here, or if you don't see your name here, then you'll have to get a hold of treasury. Otherwise, you can edit what you have. If you're showing up here, you can edit it. If you're not, you'll have to get a hold of treasury. I use expenses from 2020 per Matt Trainer. Do I need to resubmit 2019 expenses? I would wait and see if treasury calls you, when they might, and then they'll just ask you to resubmit. I meant to say that my download of links does not let me fill in. Send me an email and I'll give you a phone call. I have login.gov ID, but my only connects are to sam.gov. The portal address given does not work. Login.gov ID should get you to, if you type in that portal.treasury.gov compliance S before you go to login.gov, it should take you right to login.gov and then take you to the treasury. If you're still having issues, you might want to talk to login.gov. Thank you for putting the upload form links in the chat area so we could download these. Thanks, Carl. Is an UEI number is on the screen. Does that mean I am registered with SAMS? Yes. Can you mail the supporting documents? I sure can mail them in through the post office. Otherwise, if you have an email, I can send you an attachment. How long should we be waiting to hear back from Treasury? I wish I knew the answer to that one, Sherry. They are just overlogged, overbooked. And on that note too, if you talk to other townships, people that were not on this, asking questions and so forth, can you please remind them that if they're having errors with the Treasury site or login.gov or anything like that, that they need to get a hold of Treasury. We are getting waterlogged with phone calls here at Matt. So if people can get on our website, watch this webinar, we're going to have frequently asked questions on our website. You can direct them there first. We would really appreciate it. ARPA is taking up 95% of my day. I'm not complaining, not really, kind of, but not really. But it's just hard for us to get anything else done if there's not anything that we can do for you. So yes, you are registered with SAMS, Diane. For the docs that we need to upload, do we sign those right now if they haven't been signed yet? Yes. You have applied for a UEI, but have not received it. Should we check when they ask if you are registered? Yeah, check no if you're about registering with SAMS.gov if you're having problems. You're welcome. There was a thank you in there. You can also use a phone app such as Duo Mobile to get codes from login.gov. Thank you, Kim. I'm having trouble getting into login.gov. It is error details. There's a helpline for login.gov that you will need to get a hold of them through the helpline. It's on their webpage when you go into the login.gov. After I log on to account login.gov and then open portal, it does not open website like you showed. Log out of login.gov and go right to the portal Treasury, that website, and it should take you through login.gov. How do I get to the screen that has all those choices on the left of the screen? I get to the home page, fine, but where do I go from there? All right, we are going to. Okay, you're going to be up here. You're going to go to home. You're going to click on compliance reports. And when you pick your report that you need to do, where am I? then those groups should show up here on the left-hand side. So after completing project overview, saying we have not project at this time and no money spent, what is the next step? You need to save your project. Go to the bottom of the screen and hit next. And it'll take you to the recipient compliance, something or another, where you have to answer those 3 questions. Then you hit next till you get to the certify page. I submitted the compliance report for a township. When the report was complete before I submitted it, it showed an amount of 0 for allocated amount. Did I miss something at the project expense report step? I reviewed it several times and did not see this step. If you submitted the report, I would leave it at that. Treasury will get a hold of you if they have questions. So I wouldn't worry about it. If you were able to, Heidi, if you were able to successfully submit that report, let's not lose any more sleep over this stuff. Thank you. This was very helpful and greatly appreciated. You're welcome, Nancy. The allocated amount does not show on recipient profile. It should. You might want to have to get a hold of Treasury and find out why it's not showing up there. The Treasury said that we don't have to split up projects till end of the year reporting. Yeah, it would be once a year that you would split up projects. If you add a project, then you'd add that to the next year when you report. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Stress relieved. Good. We're all going to party when this is over. The township expensed out of the COVID fund in 2021. Are those expenses reportable for this April? Yes. If you spent money, they are reportable now. We report to the same MMB office for the documents that have been requested. MMB and the Treasury both asked for those documents. So yes, you would need to send them to both the Treasury and MMB. Holy moly, I think we got through all 111 questions. I'm wishing I would have left my report submitted and not tried to correct anything at this point. Yep, Chuck, I'm sorry. You'll have to get a hold of Treasury. Like I said, my stuff disappeared as well in the middle of trying to go through reporting with people. Thanks, Pat. I'll probably see you Tuesday morning. When I choose public health for the technological project, it asks if there's a capital expenditure. If I say yes, it asks questions about disappointing groups of people. Ooh. Should we answer none so we don't receive this question? Yes. I had an additional question to your answer regarding giving monies to CWC. Please review my question. I don't remember. Carl, do you remember that question?
I do not know. I'll go digging through the Q&A and see if I can find it.
How do we get the actual budget document? Kelsey, if you used 2019 actual expenses, it would be on your year-end report for your annual meeting. If you're using CTAS, you can do it Schedule 1, 2019. If you use budgets in your township, you're going to want a proposed budget for 2020. And that would be probably your levy. And that you're going to have to go back to 2019, March of 2019 to get that levy amount. But otherwise, it's your actual expenses. We enter no, it says none of the questions. That's great. You're the best. Thank you for all your help. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Go ahead, Carl.
I have the other question from Carol. So she asked, wouldn't the expenditure go under giving money to a government entity? This isn't related to broadband because they're working through the county. The money, the township is going to Crow Wing County and not the broadband category. And not the broadband company. I guess it depends with a lot of things. I really enjoy those two words, but when we look at these different expenditure categories that are not lost revenue, there can be some weird nuances sometimes. And so looking at how you're spending, you will want to walk through the different expenditure categories and see if you're giving it to the county as a subrecipient of the township, which may require you to do some different reporting things, and if it's for a broadband purpose. And so it might just be fall under, say, broadband other projects rather than a transfer to a government entity. And so that's really where you're going to want to sit and examine and try to determine what's the best fit.
Thank you, Carl. Can you do Bill asked, can you do part of the report and come back and finish it? Yes, you don't have to submit it. You can start it and then go back and finish. If we do not send our reports to MMB or the Treasury, will we be notified? Yes, they will let you know, Diane. I'm taking over for previous clerk, used to be clerk treasurer for 15 years, have not worked with ARPA, please help. Dead Lake Township, if you would zip me an email and we'll set up a time we can go through it. I have been trying to update renew registration for our township information is correct, but there are no matching items. Where is a training info to see how to do this process? Who do we contact for help with this? If you're renewing your registration with SAMS, you're going to want to contact SAMS. If it's an issue with the Treasury portal, you'll need to contact Treasury. An earlier video you made showed the 3 documents that we sent to the state where to be uploaded with this report, but that does not show up now. Are we supposed to send these? Yes, you are. I am going to show you. I'm going to share my screen again. If you notice when you go compliance reports, this is where you're going to upload your documents. These are those 3 documents, the NEU agreements, and then your supporting document for your budget or your expenses. So we're going to provide information. Yep. And then you're going to go to NEU documents, and this is where you're going to upload them. Yes, they're ready to go, and you can upload your files right there. Okay, and then you can certify that as well. So it's on that first screen where you have your reports, your project. All you're going to see is the 2 reports. I have the sample project and expenditure report to go through with folks. So you're going to see these 2, and this is where you're going to send those documents. This is where you're going to submit your project and expenditure report. Do we need to pass a resolution for the board to approve the use of funds for general revenue purposes? Yes. That is the revenue replacement resolution, I believe, Carl.
Yes, I do want to make a quick aside though. The resolution is not necessary. It's not required that you pass it, but it's a good idea to do so. And it will be that lost revenue replacement if you're going to put it in to use as like your general fund.
Can I resubmit the correct 2019 expenditures, or should I wait until they contact me? Wait until they contact you. Let's not wake a sleeping bear. Thanks to Matt Legal for their quick response, RE building a town hall, report forms, and for the informative webinar this morning. That's from Clay Township, guys. When will this video be on the website? We're hoping to have it on there yet today. So just keep watching. It'll be in the ARPA uses along with our frequently asked questions. Is there an example of the revenue replacement resolution on the MAT website? Yes, under resources, ARPA info, and you'll see the resolutions there. All right. We'll wait a couple more minutes, see if anybody else has any questions. If you still have issues, like I said, zip me an email. If I can answer it, I will do my best. If I can't, we'll get you to where you need to be. Under provide narrative as to why we have no project yet. Okay to say we haven't decided what to spend it on. Yes. You can say you haven't decided what to spend it on. Does the $30 we spent? Yes. Anything that you, yeah, this has been answered, sorry. Reported that we have not allocated any of the funds yet under project overview. Do I go next to recipients page? Yes. You have to send the documents if you already sent them when you applied. If you were able to send those documents when you applied, you're good, you're golden. My email is lstocker. It's also on the website, lstocker@mntownships.org, but you can find it on the website as well. I'm filing for 2019. Please clarify I'm filing for 2019. If you're looking for that budget that they want, it's your expenses for 2019. Thanks, Jeff. My email is in the chat. Thank you.
Were we waiting on Jeff?
For what? No, he put my email in the chat.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think this went very well. Again, for those left on here, if you have any questions.
I want to point out Lori's been doing a lot of work on this, and as for as frustrating as for each of you, consider multiplying it by all the townships calling in, and that's Lori. So folks, please thank her, send her the good wishes, because she is driving this whole thing. She and Carl are taking on questions, and they are the ones supporting townships on this. So thank you to the both of you.
Thanks, Steve. How far back, this is a good question for one of the attorneys, how far back can the township backdate COVID expenses? Well, this didn't happen until 2020, so they can't have any expenses before that, correct?
For ARPA, it cannot be before March 3rd, 2021.
Okay.
It's for a lost revenue. If you're spending it from there, you're probably going to want to wait until 2022. That's January 7th date. If you have it in another expenditure category, then again, you can backdate it to that March 3rd date.
Thank you, Carl. Oh, here, I thought this was only going to take about half an hour. Silly me. So if there's anybody left out there, we haven't answered your question, need help, just zip me an email. Email's preferred, so Sherry doesn't get bombarded with phone calls. Sherry, no, Steve, I have to say that Sherry has been doing an amazing job as well, answering the phones and trying to drive people in the right direction. So that's really helped me alleviate some of my issues as well. So she's been doing an amazing job. What do you think, guys?
I think we're gonna call it there. You guys have done a lot of work, and I'm sorry I forgot Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. So folks, if you have anything else, send them in, but maybe give these two a little break. I'm sure they have some questions already in the inbox that we get during the presentations. But send them in and we'll keep trying to help you out. Again, this stuff will be up on the webpage. And I want to alleviate senses of urgency here. Yeah, there's a deadline, okay, but they're not coming after you or something. They're going to ask you where it is and you're going to try to get it. We'll try to help you, but it's all going to be fine. You just get in there and we work through the process, and in the end, your town got money, and that's helpful for your township. So thanks everybody for being on today, and for Lori and Carl for putting this thing on. Thank you.
Thank you.